Welcome to the Lava Academy podcast, your monthly dive into the world of volcanoes, lava, and the forces that shape our planet. We're a team of lava enthusiasts based in Reykjavik, Iceland, part of the crew behind Lava Show, the world's first live lava show where we remelt real lava and pour it out in front of a live audience. But this podcast is where we go deeper into the science, the stories, and the people behind the eruptions. Each month, we'll bring you the latest volcano news along with conversations with a range of guests, from leading geologists and volcanologists to locals who've witnessed eruptions up close. We'll cover everything from the science of how volcanoes work and the tectonic forces shaping Iceland, to the ongoing activity on the Reykjanes Peninsula, historic eruptions, and the ways in which volcanic events impact people and communities. Whether you're a curious listener, a science enthusiast, or someone who just thinks lava is cool, and it is, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome back to the Lava Academy podcast. I'm your host, Iain MacKinnon, a former primary school teacher from Scotland, now living in Reykjavik and playing with lava for a living. And I'm joined by my co-host, Jón Heiðar Ragnheiðarson.
Again, excellent pronunciation, sir. You had it completely perfect. Yes, my name is Jón Heiðar Ragnheiðarson, and I am the sales and marketing manager here at Lava Show. I'm actually born and raised in Akureyri in the northeast of Iceland, but now living here in Reykjavik, close to the geology of Reykjanes.
Indeed. And we have got a fantastic guest, so let's go right ahead and meet that special guest now. Okay, we're joined now by Ragnhildur Ágústsdóttir, the co-founder of Lava Show and also well known for her Lady Lava videos on Facebook and TikTok. Hello, Raka.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Raka. Or should I say, hello, boss?
Boss, yes, we have to be very careful here.
Yes, be careful now.
Yeah, behave, guys.
Yes, we'll try.
All right, so you've got very strong ties to lava and obviously very strong ties to Iceland, being an Icelander. So let's just kind of begin with that then. Icelanders, you grow up surrounded by these volcanic landscapes. How would you say that has shaped your relationship to nature and to your country?
You know, good to start with a small question. Yes, absolutely. Quite honestly, I think that all of us who are born and raised in Iceland, we have an ingrained, I would say, understanding, respect, but also, I think, a relatively lax attitude towards volcanoes. We do know that they can be devastatingly dangerous, but we also know that they are a big part of why it's so lovely to live here in Iceland. They have actually contributed to a lot of the, I would say, nicer things that Iceland has to offer. The hot water, all the geothermal power that we have, us basically being able to go to swimming pools very cheaply and easily in every single town that has more than like 20 people in Iceland. So I think that for us, it's just very normal. And honestly, I would say that the average Icelander doesn't really think that much about it. It's just part of life.
Yeah.
I agree. But I have a childhood memory of being 6 or 7 and seeing glow from an eruption in Mývatn from Akureyri.
Yeah.
I remember I was pretty nervous about it. And then we had some ash fall and just a very strong childhood memory. So I think we all have memories like that. My wife has a memory of her father herding the entire family into their car because Hekla was erupting in 1980. And they got really close to it. And that's a very strong childhood memory for her to be like feeling the pulse of the heat, and her father being very excited, my father-in-law.
I would say, like normally, you know, there's a volcanic eruption in Iceland every like 2 to 5 years, depending a little bit on the period. So what's been going on recently on the Reykjanes Peninsula has been very unusual.
Yeah.
And like we have a son who's now 7, and I mean, he's like literally surprised that there's not an eruption like every month, which is not the norm, or at least it has not been, for the past hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But now that seems to be the new norm, maybe. So.
Yeah. And do you have childhood memories of eruptions yourself?
Actually, not that much. I remember that like my first very clear memory with a volcanic eruption actually is the one that me and Julius experienced back in 2010 at Fimmvörðuháls, where the idea behind Lava Show was born.
This basically kind of brings me to the next question, really. So is this what made you think we want to do something with lava?
Yes, it was. And I mean, because you asked about like my childhood, I do not recall having like experienced a live eruption myself growing up, but I was always incredibly fascinated with volcanoes. I guess I was a total geek growing up. I loved science, everything. I was even considering at some point in time to become a geologist. Did not choose that path, but it was at the top of my list of things that potentially could be, what I would eventually do in my life. So maybe it's not that odd that we ended up founding this company. And I think when I was growing up, we had lots of stories. I spent a lot of time in the south of Iceland, south of a town called Kirkjubæjarklaustur. And for me, all of the stories revolved around the big eruption that happened during the Lagagigar eruptions and the massive lava field that followed. And I was absolutely fascinated with the stories. And then my husband, he was basically raised, with the story of his great-grandfather, who very narrowly escaped the Katla 1918 eruption. So, I think for us personally, it was more the stories.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when we saw the eruption on Fimmvörðuháls, firsthand, I could not believe, I mean, it's so different to seeing this in person than to seeing it just on a screen or, imagining it. It's just completely different. And
so can you describe the scene? Like, what was actually happening there?
I mean, the words are not going to do it justice, but I will try. So this is basically just to take out any confusion between the eruption that I'm referring to, which is called the Fimmvörðuháls eruption, and then the big famous Eyjafjallajökull eruption with the ash cloud and everything that actually took place about 3 weeks later. Okay, so this was the one before, the smaller one, more viewer-friendly. And opposite to the big Eyjafjallajökull eruption that basically happened underneath the glacier. So when that eruption happened, the mixture of ice and fire ended up with this massive ash cloud. The eruption that we witnessed was basically an effusive eruption where, lava just beautifully poured out in these lava fountains. And then, because it was on a mountain ridge, the lava just sort of flowed slowly towards the edge of the mountain and then cascaded down into a canyon. And it was a 200-meter lava fall that we call. And if I try to explain it, this was in March. And it was still sort of wintry. So even if we did not have a glacier, there was snow. So imagine the neon bright orange lava flowing there. And, you could see the lava fountains in the distance. And then it was flowing there towards the edge of the cliff, surrounded by white snow. And then it cascaded down into the Black Canyon, these epic contrast. And then, of course, what I think was most surprising for me and most people when they experience lava in real life, whether it be in nature or here at Lava Show, is that it's not only something that you see. It's such a sensory-loaded experience. Yeah. You see it, of course, and it is really indescribable. But it's also the sounds, the rumbling and the crackling of the lava. It's really, really cool. And then it's the smell that is really difficult to describe, but it's there. And that it's the lava when you see it. And then, of course, last but not least, the heat. And I mean, we were standing quite far away and we could still feel the heat. So it really does sort of encompass the senses and make you sort of emotional. And I mean, it's very difficult to describe, but I mean, it was a big, big moment in our lives. And very, very soon after, we were like, okay, you know, everyone needs to experience this.
Yeah. So Jón is actually tearing up here. Just I can see
I'm tearing up,
single tear running down his cheek. He's so moved.
And I think there is a bit of a moisture on your face as well.
That's mostly sweat.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you're so emotional, guys.
Yes.
We're in touch with our feelings.
Yeah, it's good.
So in terms of taking that experience and then trying to make an experience out of it.
Very easy. No, it was not. No, yeah. So, I mean, of course, first, when we started talking about it, we didn't really have a very clear idea. We just knew that we wanted to take this experience that we had and try somehow to make basically lava accessible to all. We wanted to make it possible for anyone to get close to real lava, but in a safe environment. Because, I mean, let's face it, I would not say that volcanoes are necessarily the first word that comes to mind when you hear the word safety.
No.
Right? No. So, you know, what we had to figure out was, like, first of all, is it possible to somehow recreate a volcanic eruption, but in a safe environment? And I mean, we are not engineers, we are not geologists. We have a lot of passion for the topic, but I mean, that's not what our expertise or where our expertise lies. So we had no idea how to do that. We just knew the end result, how we wanted it to be. And most of all, I think what we wanted or what we knew was how we wanted people to feel once they had experienced it. And that is basically when you said that quite automatically what we were facing. We knew sort of where we wanted to go. We had no idea how to get there. And I will tell you, there was a lot of trial and error, primarily error, involved.
I mean, the biggest challenge was the furnace, getting the furnace right. And I mean, because nobody designs furnaces to melt lava.
No, you can't just call a company up and like, hey, I'm going to buy a lava melting furnace, please. You know, that is basically something that we had to figure out from scratch. I mean, and what we did was that we ended up using a furnace that had originally been used for the purpose of melting steel and then repurposed it basically to melt lava. The thing is, though, that lava behaves very, very differently from steel and other typical metals that are melted on a regular basis. So there was a lot of challenges involved. And I mean, not to mention the regulations and just permissions to operate. That was no walk in the park either.
I mean, the fire chief is automatically your fan. They're like so happy about this.
Yeah, I mean, my husband, he tells the story sometimes, you know, when he first got a phone call from the fire marshal in Vik, because that's where we started out, right? And this guy was just like, wait, so here I have this application for an operational license of a lava show. Can you explain to me what this is? Like, is it like a museum, like a video? And my husband was like, not really. So here's the deal. We're going to like have a furnace in one room and we're going to heat the lava up to 1100 degrees Celsius. And then we're going to pour it through this small hole in the wall into a showroom where there's going to be a bunch of people. And the guy was just like, right. Yeah. And then followed a very complicated procedure of getting all the permissions to actually do it.
But you managed it.
Well, ultimately, yes.
and here we are now.
Yeah.
So obviously you're never going to be able to capture the exact feelings that you have when you were standing at Fimmvörðuháls watching all of that kind of going down. But I mean, you do occasionally host shows here. Do you find that you still get that kind of gut reaction when that lava is flowing down beside you?
Yes, actually I do. And I mean, I remember when I did my first show. So I've seen the show. Like my husband was the one who originally did all of the shows.
Yeah.
And I think I probably, like as his number one fan, as I should, I was there in the crowd seeing his show hundreds of times. Yeah. I could basically tell it by heart without having ever done the show myself. And he always, I could see how when he was standing next to the lava, how he was sweating. And I mean, he said as much, he was like, when you stand close to the lava, every step you take makes a lot of difference, just by how hot the lava is. And I was like, okay, nothing, internally knowing, sure, this is true. But then when I did it for the first time myself, actually standing, we're talking 30, 50, 60, 70 centimeters away from lava that is flowing down there 1100 degrees hot. It is really indescribable how hot it is. I mean, I remember when I did it for the first time, I was like, okay, I'm not going to have any facial hairs, no eyebrows, no nothing. When I leave this room, I felt like I was burning. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, that is not how the audience feels. No. But I mean, this is also why everyone who conducts the show as a lava host needs to wear protective gear to prevent any damage or harm.
They also need to follow protocol in how they move and behave around the lava.
Yes, and this is something, exactly. And that is something, that is why, everyone who comes and works for us as a lava host or a lava master, everyone needs to, really go to a very thorough training, practicing this under guidance from a more experienced host. Yeah. Because there are certain do's and don'ts.
Oh, yes, there are.
Both in terms of, how one conducts oneself, but also just in terms of, operating and playing with the lava when demonstrating it to ensure the safety of the audience. So, there's a very thorough protocol for that. But I mean, it's thrilling.
It really, it's okay, from my point of view, when I'm doing it, although I have now done this hundreds of times, it doesn't matter. Every single time that lava comes down the slide beside me, there's that animal part of my brain which is saying, run away, run away.
Yeah.
And then counterintuitively, you go in with a pole and start manipulating this stuff. And there's a very physical reaction that you get from that.
But I think that's also a good thing, because it sort of is like an automatic safety barrier to keep clear of the lava. And we want that. We don't want anyone to make any accidents or do anything with it. And we do everything in our power to prevent that. But I mean, it is really indescribable to be in close proximity with lava. And that is what we offer our audience to do.
Then there is the other half of the show, which the audience may not see, and that is the furnace.
Yes.
Which is, 10 tons of machinery.
Yeah.
And needs to be tilted to get the lava out into the funnel and into the showroom. So
I mean, it is, I think it's actually a whole different story. I could talk here all day about, the process of getting to the point where we are now. I mean, when we started out in Vík, the furnace in Vík, by the way, is very, very different from the furnace that we now have in Reykjavik. There's a lot of innovation and development involved in our operations. And, we are learning every step of the way. And we are always learning. And, when we first turned on the furnace in Vík and it worked miraculously, we were ecstatic. But then a few days later, my husband, who's annoyingly brilliant and basically is the sort of brain behind all of this, with help from a lot of smart people, of course, he was like, okay, if we ever do this again, here's a list of things that we need to change. And then he had this long list. And then finally when we opened in Reykjavik, then basically the furnace that we had there was, you know,
It was the fruit of that.
Yeah, the fruit of that. It was basically the furnace 2.0, you know, where all of the lists had been implemented. And then, you know, we opened up and it worked and everyone was super happy until my husband came and was like, okay, this is good, but, you know, if we ever do this again, then we're going to change this and this, you know, had this long list again. So we are always developing and innovating here at Lava Show.
So you mentioned audiences there. What kind of reactions do you get from people? I mean, do you think that people are getting the same kind of thrill from seeing and experiencing what you experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different between everyone. Mm-hmm. But I would say the overwhelming feedback that we do get is that surprise from just how hot it is and basically how much of a sensory experience it is. I think people, like going into the Lava Show for the first time in the audience, it's very difficult to try and imagine exactly what you're about to experience. I mean, sure, you know the lava is going to be hot. It's sort of automatic, but just how hot is difficult to understand until you're actually there. Yeah. And this is actually one of the reasons why we do allow, as an example, photos and short videos being taken during the show, because we just know that it doesn't really do the experience itself justice. Yeah. You know, you can go to YouTube and you can just watch lava videos. I mean, everyone can do that, but it's not the same as sitting in the room just like a few meters away from real flowing lava.
I'm also going to say a lot of people have come up to me, especially when we do these travel shows, Raka, like these trade shows, and people like travel agents and, you know, potential partners come up to us and say, is it real lava? Are you? And I'm like, yes, this is not, you know, this is not duct tape or lights or something. This is real. Yeah. But people find that difficult to believe.
Yes. And I mean, I think that we are still getting that feedback, even though, you know, we're now like almost 7 years into operation. Yeah. But I mean, I can tell you in the early days, in the very beginning, we were literally hard selling over the counter. We were like, we promise, it's real lava, it's epic.
This is not Play-Doh.
No, exactly. And people literally did not believe us. And I specifically remember this one story. There was this guy from the US, and he was there with his kids. And they were eating the soup, because in Vík we have like a restaurant, soup restaurant, that is attached to the show. So they were there for the food, not the lava, right? And they came in and the kids were like, oh, there's lava, Dad, there's lava, let's go to the lava. And the guy was like, oh, yet another tourist trap, you know, totally convinced that it was some gimmick. And my husband was actually talking with him, and he was just like, no, I promise you, sir, this is real lava. And the guy was just like nodding, like, fine, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
You know, paid the tickets, went in, and then they were sitting there. And as the lava came pouring down, the guy like gasped and like moved his chair back, you know, and he was just like so surprised that it was real lava, because in the showroom, there's this lava slide where we have like actually real lava, like black tephra, as we call it, that covers the slide where the lava then comes flowing down. And in the middle of that black sand or tephra, we have blocks of ice. And for someone who does not necessarily believe that there's going to be real lava, those blocks of ice may look like LED lights. Mm-hmm. And he was just convinced that it was going to be a light show. Yeah. And then the lava came pouring in. He was just like, whoa! And he actually came up to us afterwards and was like, I have to apologize. You know, I did not believe a word that you were saying beforehand. This is the most epic thing that I've ever experienced. I'm going to go home and tell everyone.
Speaking of telling everyone, this is something that you've been doing a lot of over the last couple of years, really. You've been doing your kind of regular Lady Lava updates that you've been, you've been talking about the activity that's been going on here in the Reykjanes Peninsula mostly. But as you're talking to people about what's going on here, when eruptions are happening in Iceland, it's not just a kind of natural spectacle. It's not just something impressive to see. It's something that's, you know, actually affecting people's homes, their travel, their businesses and stuff like that. So how do you kind of communicate that to people?
to be quite honest, as it started, it was basically there was so much media, what should I say, craziness going on in the world.
Inaccuracy, I guess.
And I think that, the terminology that we are so used to here in Iceland, when, anything happens volcanically, we automatically move the sort of preparation stages for the civil defense and all the response parties up to either level of danger or level of emergency. Mm-hmm. And those terms can sound incredibly scary for someone who's not used to their use. So basically when the civil defense of Iceland declares a state of emergency, but in a very localized area, what the media abroad picked up was basically Iceland is in a state of emergency, and and ensued a long list of incredibly dramatic headlines, inaccurate, I must add, basically indicating that Iceland was about to explode off of the face of the earth.
What I found, I saw these pictures of Hallgrímskirkja Cathedral in Reykjavik with a background of fire, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it was like I don't know whether it was Photoshop, AI, or whatever, or some clever use of lens or something. But it looked like the entire Reykjavik was on fire. And then I had people from abroad asking, "Are you guys okay?"
Are you okay? Oh, how many times did we hear, "Are you okay?"
And do you need a place to stay if Iceland needs to be evacuated? And everyone was just like, no, we're fine.
My main worry was what's for dinner? It's
precisely.
Yeah.
So that is basically how it all started. If I'm being really honest, I wish I could claim that it was all a very strategic marketing plan. It ended up actually working quite well in terms of marketing, but from the beginning, that was not the whole purpose. It was more like there was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of it, and people naturally were afraid.
Yeah.
And we
had people cancelling bookings to here because they were not going to come to the country.
And if you
because
think
of what
about
was happening.
Let's say that I'm traveling to a country and I know that there's major flooding going on or a hurricane heading that way. I'm not sure, because I'm not used to those things, that I would willingly travel there. I might be hesitant. Mm-hmm. So I totally understand that people may stop and think a bit and should I be worried? So I think it's a normal thing. But the problem is that, I think a lot of people, especially people who have not been to Iceland before, they don't realize what a big island Iceland is. It's not just a tiny little dot, it's not a small, tropical island. It's not tropical at all, actually.
No,
but that's another. That's beside
Definitely
the point.
Definitely not. It's not tropical.
No.
Be warned.
But first of all, Iceland is quite large, and we actually have a lot of volcanoes positioned all over the country, and with most volcanic eruptions in Iceland, they only affect a very small part of the country.
Yeah, very localized.
Yes. So, and I think that was the first thing that just needed to be communicated. We just wanted to get the word out there, yes, there is a volcanic eruption going on. This is what's happening, but it is not affecting normal life in Iceland. It's very, very localized. It's a very small area that is affected. It did happen to have the Blue Lagoon within that region, which also happens to be probably the best known brand of Iceland. So I think that added to the drama.
I just want to make sure that we mention the tragedy of Grindavik. The people who had to be evacuated, and the future of that town is very unsure.
Yes, exactly.
So that's sort of that's the biggest consequence of all of this.
Yeah, but I think that there were people who were affected, but it was a very localized thing. Mm-hmm. And what really inspired me to start basically sharing those videos was primarily to try and get just accurate, timely information from a local who knows really truly what's going on out there, to the world, to people who were interested. And I think that it sort of exploded way past what I expected. I mean, honestly, I remember one night, I think I posted like a video about what was going on in Grindavík, actually. It was back in like November 2023, around the time when the town was evacuated. And I went to bed and I had posted like a video, and I woke up to it being like viewed by more than 3 million. And I was just like, what? You know? So it came as a complete surprise to me and us. But clearly there was demand for this. People were thirsty to know more, to get it explained also in like normal language. We do not claim to have all the information. What we do have is information that is true and accurate. It's based on scientific facts, and it's timely from a local about what's going on for real. Yeah. And I think that in the modern era of media, I think people are getting so used to the clickbaity headlines and sensationalism that I think it was a little bit of like a breath of fresh air. And now we actually get a lot of the time, we get like comments and like questions and messages when people read something in the media, like, oh, there's an eruption in Iceland. They say, you know, for many of them, they first go to our platform, to our social media pages to check, like, what's going on, what's the news from them, because they've started to rely on our information. And I think that's something that I'm personally very proud of. And I feel also some sense of responsibility that, you know, people are waiting for true and real information to come out there about what's going on. And we don't try to make it more dramatic than it is, but we also don't take away from it. If it is serious, we say that it's serious.
Because there's a fine line. I mean, volcano tourism is a thing.
Yes.
And people coming to a place where they're maybe not used to volcanic eruptions and stuff, if you're reassuring people too much that everything is kind of safe and everything is business as usual, people may want to kind of go out there. They want to kind of get close.
Yes.
So it's quite difficult to kind of handle that balance between reassuring people, but also making it clear that this is not something to be trifled with. It's not something you can take too lightly.
Exactly. And I think that comes back to your first question about, you know, being Icelandic and being born and raised with volcanoes. And like I said to that question, you know, I think that we're raised with this respect for volcanoes. But, you know, we know that they can be dangerous and that you need to approach them with the utmost care. And we also know what to be careful about, because it's not necessarily the lava. It's more the gases and the crevices that can form in cracks in the ground and stuff like that. And this is something that we know, and it's just sort of like we're born and raised with it. It's in our blood. But naturally, that's not the case for people who are not used to this. So I think that what we try to do is that we try to get the information out there as accurately as possible without the drama, but also we're not pretending that it's just safe to go there. And so, you know, I don't know, I think that we just need to keep doing it. I hope people enjoy watching our videos. I think it's definitely not for everyone. It's a niche. There are people who really love it. There are others who like really do not want to listen to a woman, you know, in her 40s talk about volcanoes at length. And that's fine.
You've shown a lot of people lava.
Yes.
Hundreds of thousands of them. Do you think that having a show like Lava Show, which is nature-based, changes people's perspective on things like climate change or protecting nature, or, you know, understanding the world better and how fragile it really is?
Good question. Honestly, I think that everything that helps you broaden your perspective and that helps you learn about the world that we live in has that effect. I think that a lot of people that come to our show don't necessarily know a whole lot about volcanoes or geology or lava for that matter. And I think the difference in the interest level when people walk in and then when they walk out is quite big. And I think that is what we aspire for. That is what we want.
Maybe it helps science literacy a little bit?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I can tell you, my favorite thing is when we get messages from people who went to, let's say, in the beginning of the school year, right? And we get from parents who are like, oh, we came and visited the lava show during the summer and our son or daughter loved it. And now they're tasked, with the project of saying something that they did during the summer. And so many of them are basically, telling their schoolmates about this epic experience of going to lava show to Iceland and to see real lava. And then, they bring out that little lava piece that they got when they visited. And then they and in many cases, these parents are like, I think that we have a future volcanologist here, So I think that the kids are so open. Actually, the most interesting and fun questions that we get during the show are from the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they are so open and unafraid to just raise their hand and ask. It's absolutely incredible. And that is what we want during the show. We want people to engage and to ask the questions and not be afraid to ask the stupid question because, there are no stupid questions really.
One of the most rewarding things I think has ever happened to me is at the end of a show, a little girl walking out, talking to her parents and saying, I want to be a geologist.
Exactly.
It's there you go.
And I mean, I think this is what we strive for. We want people to be excited about what they saw, what they experienced, and about what they learned. And I think this, because we are not only making it possible for people to see lava and get close to lava, we also want them to leave with a greater sense of Mother Nature and, how actually small we are compared to Mother Nature, basically.
Yeah. Okay, we have taken up a lot of your time and you're extremely busy. So we are going to let you go. But before you do, one little kind of spitball question, just to kind of, if you could tell Raka from 10 years ago, if you could tell her anything about all of this, what would you tell her?
Keep dreaming. I mean, I think that is what we started out with. We had this dream. And I mean, I will tell you, I didn't go into all the details now, but we had a lot of curveballs sent our way. And we could have easily given up. We could have easily not followed through and just decided, this is too much work. This is too difficult. This is too big a dream. But we didn't give up. And here we are today. So I think that's the biggest learning. Never give up. Keep dreaming.
I think Ian and I both have tears in our eyes now.
We do.
Yes.
They're back again.
Okay, Raka, thank you so much. But before you leave, where can people find you online?
Oh, yes. Well, we primarily, I would say, on Lava Show's social media platforms. So that would be, I would say Instagram is probably one of our main platforms where we do most of our updates, not only in the form of reels and video updates, but also just stories. Also on TikTok. We're also on YouTube. So basically all the main social media platforms.
We'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah, so it's at Lava Show Iceland.
Excellent. Thank you, Raka.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
All right, that was a fantastic interview we just had there with Raka. Big thanks to her for coming on and joining us. And we hope you enjoyed it too. And if you did enjoy it, please come back and listen to us again. If you haven't already subscribed to us, make sure you do that.
Yeah, and you can follow us on our socials. Lava Show is on Instagram under Lava Show Iceland. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and obviously on our website, lavashow.com.
Yeah, and if you want to get in touch with us with email, you can just email podcast@lavashow.com.
Yes, I would love to hear from you guys. And please let us know what you want to hear, what people you want us to interview. We're always open to ideas.
Yeah, open to suggestions, open to ideas. And please join us again next time.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye-bye for now.